But first, let's go back to last night's TV debate. Which of the party leaders do you think took the spoils? No, Hardeep, you wanted to get in on one of our previous callers' points about ITV.
I mean, it's interesting the influence X Factor, Pop Idol and Strictly have had on the way we think about things. The YouGov poll that put Clegg at 51%, it's polls...
It was 4,000
Yeah,
people,
but all these poll stuff, it's not just people phoning and going, I quite like Nick Clegg. It looks like my grandson, and I'm Pakistani. You know, it's not, you know, it's not that sort of thing. It's, you know, carefully selected pollsters' information, which is what makes it so incredibly exciting and so relevant.
OK, let's go back to the phones. After all, it's your views we want to hear. Kirsty, who's on next?
OK, next we have Jennifer on line 4.
Jennifer, good morning.
Good morning, Matthew.
So, what did you think?
Well, obviously, Nick Clegg did come across the best because he was like the cat that got the cream, and he does actually think quite a lot of himself. That actually came across, and he had nothing to lose. And he gave a lot of rhetoric. I don't know where people get the idea that he's an honest politician, because we all know there's less police on the streets. The children are coming out of school quite illiterate, and you can go to hospital and see a cancer specialist, but you may not get the drug that you need.
Wow.
And I thought David Cameron was very disadvantaged by being stuck in the middle, and Gordon Brown was sort of sniping at him all the time. And I did think Nick Clegg got more voice time than either of them. David Cameron got the least. He kept being cut off in mid-flow.
Yes.
And I thought David Cameron actually is the one who feels the most passionate about the country and is trying to be the most honest. But unfortunately, it didn't do him, you know, much good last night. But let's wait.
Now, Jennifer,
Jennifer,
when you say that, the problem I had, and in fact, me and the missus, we were doing our own opinion poll at home. She's a Tory, and she felt that David Cameron, as I did, we both marked him down off the back of his closing speech, because instead of addressing the evening that we'd had and the points that had been made and communicating with the audience, you just got this sort of faux Churchillian speech at the end, and it just didn't seem to fit.
No, I do tend to agree with you to some extent, but I do think that he's trying to... I just feel we all know that this country is in a terrible mess. And it's going to continue to get into a terrible mess unless somebody can actually pull everybody together and work towards, you know, building it up again to the Great Britain it was, not just Britain, Great Britain.
OK.
And I do feel that he has got the most passion for that. But unfortunately, people don't always want to hear when things might be tough, and they don't want to always hear that they might have to contribute
But
something.
also, Jennifer, well, I think we're all going to be contributing as if we're not contributing enough already. And passion isn't necessarily enough either. Thank you. Let's have another.
OK, next on line 1, we have Ian.
Ian, good morning.
Good morning.
What did you make of it?
Well, I thought that Nick Clegg, I could see how he was going to appeal to the viewers with how he was performing. But I was very surprised with the analysis afterwards. Nobody seemed to pick up on the fact that he seemed to, from my perspective anyway, run out of things to say. All he kept going back to was, let's have real politics. Let's stop these two guys ruining it that they've been doing over the years. And there's some camera shots where you can see the other two, Brown and Cameron, looking at him, and I thought they're feeling sorry for the guy. He's got nothing else to say.
But he also said, and he said, the more these two argue, the more they sound the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's the card, the Lib Dems, that's their trump card. If that's how we feel, that the difference between Labour and Tory is now so narrow that you can't tell the two apart, then maybe the door is open to a third way, as Tony Blair used to say.
I think you're right. I think the fact that these lines you were talking about when you were saying these sort of things, it could have come down to the fact that all this talk about money and the economy and the $6 billion, that's just going way over people's heads. As you say, they still want to spend the money. They don't want to face up to reality. And it's just this emotional thing of, let's have a change. These guys have got it wrong all the years, and that's what seems to be appealing to people.
OK, thank you, Ian. Let's have another.
OK, next we have Jenna on line 5.
Jenna, good morning.
Morning.
Has it changed, what you saw last night, has it changed the way you think you're going to vote?
Yes, I've never voted before, and I was really impressed with Nick Clegg, and I will be voting Liberal Democrats this year.
What was it that impressed you about him? His nice tie, his clean-cut look, or some of his policies?
All of it, really. He just seemed... I've never said this about a politician before, but he seemed genuine. And I agreed with how we wanted to move the country forward. And, you know, I'm a working mum. I've got another baby on the way. So getting rid of the Child Trust Fund I thought was a brilliant idea. I'd rather have that money invested in schools and police.
Wow.
And, you know, that's going to benefit my children rather than £250 when they're 18.
Wow, OK, yeah.
I think Nick Clegg's just got his new Home Secretary, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Stay on the line, Jenna.
But it's really interesting that Jenna, who you'd have thought would have been the prime beneficiary of these child trust funds, although obviously it's going to go to your kids, that you'd have thought that she would have been aligned with the people who went off Nick Clegg when he brought that up.
This is what's so depressing, is that when somebody is honest and says, this is the truth, this is what we're going to cut, we don't like that either. You know, we don't seem to like...
claims to say the truth, because I don't think anybody ever knows what the truth is, do
But
they?
at least have... You know, Nick Clegg didn't need to go in there and fill the vacuum. Well, he was very canny, by all accounts. He stepped back and allowed Cameron and Brown to show themselves up, to some extent, to be, you know, who they are, kind of, you know, full of hot air and kind of over-preparedness.
But it did seem... I was surprised by how little clashing between Cameron and Brown that there was.
Because it doesn't... It's a psychological warfare, basically, isn't it? You know, they're trying to get into the psyche of the British public, so they're not going to do the stupid things. Gordon Brown kept his voice very low, so he wasn't offensive. He didn't try to put in too much.
Cracked some hilarious gags.
Oh, absolutely. He's a hoot. But it is all about getting into people's minds and getting them to vote for you. And we all know that the policies, they just go round and round and round and round every year.
OK, let's have one more call and we'll wrap this
OK,
up.
on line 3 we have Spiros.
Spiros, good morning.
Good morning.
So, what did you make of it?
Well, what I made of it was Nick Clegg came out quite on top, but then I don't believe that Nick Clegg has anything to lose.
Neither do I, and that's where Dean started us off.
And my question is, where is Nick Clegg going to stand in a new coalition government? What is he going to do? Whose lapdog is he going to be?
Well, did you not think... I mean, I said at the beginning, my suspicion was that the reason that Cameron and Brown gave him such an easy ride is because they are both thinking, we may have to do a deal with this guy. And I think... if I was to guess of what I saw last night, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there was a coalition government that Nick Clegg would be the main driver within that government. I think it's
but I'm old enough to remember lots of governments, and at the end of the day, you know, I think we have these governments for far too long. You know, Labour's been in power for 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years. Even Cameron was saying it over and over again. 13 years. Does everybody have such a short memory? You know, we know what we've gone through with this government. We know what wars they've taken us into. We know what political situation we're in, what economic situation we're in. Nothing can get fixed just by keeping Brown in power. I just think he should on his bike, basically.
OK, all right. Thank you very much. It's worth reminding ourselves that we still have 2 more TV debates to go. They expected 30 million to watch last night. Some loony did anyway. It turns out it was 9.3, 9.4. Will that number tune in for Sky's next week or the BBC one? I'm not so sure. Thank you for all your calls. We've got to take a break. TV critic Ian Hyland makes his long-awaited comeback after that, which means it's goodbye to these guys so soon. Dean?
Thank you, Matthew.
Lovely to see you. Pleasure.
And you, sir.
I'm going to miss you on Ashes to Ashes once it's over, I have to say.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll be around for a few years for people to dip back in and have a quick look at how it used to be.
More time to go fishing as well.
Oh, well, is that the Complete Mayfly?
That's the Complete Mayfly, featuring Dean Andrews.
And John
I treasure
Tyvek.
this more
How
than
amazing.
anything. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Liz, you look just like the missus. Hang on, let me just throw things at you. Come on, cheer up. Fantastic. Fly fishing. Liz Harding, it's been a fantastic week. I can't believe it's all over so soon. Ladies and gents, give them some love. Thank you very much. Well done, guys.